Testing. Is there, yeah, there's a volume on it. That's about right. All right, here we go. There we go.
I can use the.
I have it. There we go. Okay.
At the bottom,
All right, I'm on.
Mic check. There we go. Okay. Mine is staying on.
it might pick up off the haze.
Maybe you guys there.
I'm Sharon. I'm your moderator. So if you need anything, hello, let me know. If you need me to like.
Oh, that one. Yeah. So, oh, you were able to turn that one off?
I turned it off. That's why we're getting all the static.
It's just you, you know.
Well, I'm getting static from somewhere. That off too.
Is this on? Get away from your phone.
You guys ready?
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming in today and joining this short panel here for Butter Cannabis. Butter Cannabis started about 2 years ago with me, Carl Torella, one of the owners, and Derek Gibbs. We partnered back in April of 2022 and decided to join on this venture moving forward. We currently have locations open in West Hartford and in Danbury. Soon to be Tolland as of April of this year, with 3 more locations coming up by the end of the year: Stamford, Bridgeport, and Stratford. We are primarily an adult use retailer in the state. We do have one hybrid facility coming up, and that is going to be in Stratford, where we will be selling both medical and recreational cannabis. We are also a social equity joint venture, meaning that we are 50% owned by a social equity applicant or owner, and we partner with each of those owners at every facility to build their business, mentor them, and ultimately allow them to make operational decisions in their own facilities. We also are mandated by the state to create a social equity plan. A social equity plan is really creating the baseline of who we are and what we do within inside the communities that we're in, and more specifically, disproportionately impacted areas. Disproportionately impacted areas are normally urban cities or cities that have been adversely affected by the war on drugs and poverty. To be a social equity applicant and or owner, you needed to live in these disproportionately impacted areas for a certain amount of your life, as well as make less than 3 times the household median income for the last 3 years in the Connecticut state. So with me, I have a few of my staff members. I felt like it was going to be a little more informative and a little more different to have the people who are really running the show on a day-to-day basis, right? I'm here as an owner of the company. I'm on the ground with them, but I only go as they go. So my perspective is obviously different than than the people on the ground. And I really wanted to allow them the opportunity to share their experiences, either previously in cannabis, previous in their former lives, and currently, and what they're looking for in the future in cannabis, and where this is going to go. So with that being said, I'm just going to introduce my staff, Holly Brothers. She's my store manager at West Hartford. Hannah Packer, she's my assistant manager at West Hartford, soon to be manager at the Tallinn location. We have Cyrus Walker here, who's an inventory specialist at our Danbury location, and Jennifer Maloney, who's my store manager at Danbury. So I'm going to turn it over. We're just going to go left to right, let them give a little bit about themselves and what they've done either in cannabis now and what they're currently doing for butter as a whole. So, Holly.
Okay, stretch that. That's good. Thank you. Okay, I'll go first. I've been in the Connecticut cannabis industry for close to 8 years. I started out as a pharmacy tech or dispensary tech in the lower southeastern corner at a different facility. And I started out just at point of sale, transacting customers. About 1.5 years in, I moved into inventory management and tech supervising. And then before moving to butter, I was the assistant dispensary manager with them. And now I'm a facility manager for the West Hartford location. So that's me.
Hello. This will be my 6th year working in Connecticut's cannabis industry, actually 8th year as a Connecticut patient. I started the patient route, didn't really get involved in cannabis, wasn't really familiar with it, dabbled with it in college, and found that it worked really well for me. It wasn't until my fiance that was like, you have a qualifying condition, go get a medical card, and it changed my life. And I'm here talking today because of it, which is pretty wild. So I finally was like, you know what, I got to get involved somehow. So I started just plain and simple doing kind of admin reception work. Then eventually branched out to outreach, patient care, kind of working with local physicians, getting a lot more doctors on board, certifying patients, having that conversation, getting people comfortable with medical cannabis. From there, I kind of just moved into inventory management. I was fascinated by the product. I was fascinated just by how things moved, sales in general. And then from there, I made the jump to butter, became assistant manager, and my dream to be running my own store, and that'll be happening in the spring. So that's my story.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Cyrus Walker. As Carl said, I work in the Danbury store as an inventory specialist. I'm fairly new in the industry. I just came in when we opened our Danbury store in October, so I want to say 4 months only. So I'm a newbie compared to everyone I'm sitting next to, but that's not a bad thing. I've been learning as I've been going along. My store manager here, Jen, she's taught me a lot. I'd say the most interesting and most knowledgeable thing I've learned about cannabis since coming aboard was something with the THC percentages. So as we all know, attached to product comes the THC percentage. And I would always think, okay, I want the highest THC percentage, or I'm looking for this. But she helped me realize the THC percentage isn't all about what the flower is all about. There's terpenes in it. If you want to feel a certain way, you should go after this kind of terpene and things like that. So I've been learning month by month and learning more by more, dealing with different patients as they come in, seeing what they want, what their needs are. And it's been a blessing for sure. So.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jen Maloney. Like Carl said, I manage the Danbury store. That's my 3rd facility working in cannabis in Connecticut. The first facility was in 2015, and then moved on from there. And now here with Carl and the team at Butter Cannabis. My passion for cannabis and plant medicine as a whole really moved me out of the pharmaceutical industry. I'm a pharmacy technician as well. I worked at CVS for years and kind of started to figure out that a lot of folks are coming in, getting their routine medications, and nobody was really getting better. we were just kind of maintaining whatever their illnesses were. So myself as a patient went to a medical facility in 2015 through doing my own research, trying to understand how to better my personal health is where plant medicine and cannabis had come about. So going into the facility and realizing it was run as a pharmaceutical program is really fascinating to me. And Connecticut's one of the first states to actually replicate a pharmaceutical model. So that's really interesting. Needless to say, we've brought us to a recreational stores now being open. So it's an honor for me to be in the recreational space now, having that knowledge from what I've learned in medical and the patient base there, now having customers and just really having anyone be able to come in the door. Cannabis doesn't discriminate. So 21 and up, you're welcome in the building. And we just really pride ourselves on our cannabis knowledge. And a lot of us have that history from the medical market, and it translates with our customer base, now in our stores in Connecticut. So.
Thanks, Jen. So I think one of the overlying things there that my 4 employees have said is that it's really medical at its heart, right? So even though that we're a recreational facility, probably 70% of our users, adult use users, are self-medicating in one way or another, right? So understanding, allowing them to be comfortable within our facilities to open up, to allow them to tell us what they're using it for, or why they're using it, is really important for our customer experience, right? And it also allows us to guide them on their journey within cannabis, right? We're eventually going to have 6 stores in the state. So word of mouth, customer experience, and their just ability to have access to the plant will be key in their experiences within cannabis and their journey. So with that being said, I'm just going to fire off some questions to my employees, and we want it to be interactive if you guys have questions, because they're really the boots on the ground. They deal with the customers day in, day out. So this is really something different that I've tried to give them the platform to share their experiences with a broader base and not just their own stores. So with that being said, I guess I'll start with Holly because she's at my left. But what made you interested in working in the cannabis industry, and why did you want to come join when you started?
Sure. So I started working in regular retail pharmacy in end of 2006. So I had been a technician for just about little under 10 years when the medical program got started in Connecticut. And in fairness, somebody that I worked with previously had received an application. So they opened a store nearby. At the time, I was a little frustrated in the retail space. It can be kind of an overwhelming space working in prescription medicine. And I was doing a lot of different things that for that company, and some of it I liked and some of it I didn't. So I was looking for a new opportunity, number one. So cannabis was very new to Connecticut at the time. And I just sort of reached out and said, hey, I'm interested in learning a little bit more about this type of medicine, more of like all natural, homeopathic, organic medicine. And if you have room for me at some point, I would be really interested in coming down to your facility and checking it out. And so about a year or so into the program, she reached out and said, hey, we're looking for a full-time pharmacy technician. At the time, technicians and pharmacists were solely running these facilities. So you really needed to have that experience and that kind of credential. And so I went and checked it out, and I really loved the atmosphere and I liked what they were doing. So I accepted a position with her and really began a journey of like the scientific piece of marijuana and how it relates to people in their condition, like in the disease state and condition state. So prior to that, I had social use experience from college. So I had my own experiences and understood how I could feel, but didn't really understand the real science behind it. So I educated myself as I worked and learned with Connecticut patients, and it grew from there. So that's what made me interested in getting there, and it just sort of became my lifeblood. I really became a huge investor and a really big believer in helping serve, really, really complicated patients with really complicated conditions, and watching them at least have a better quality of life, if anything, was really important to me. And I found it far better than anything that we could give them over the counter in a retail setting. So I stuck with it and just kept moving and love it. So I'm still doing it.
Awesome. Thanks, Holly. So I'm going to go from probably the most experienced on this panel to the least experienced here, 4 months here. So just so that you guys can get a little different vantage points of why and whatnot. So Cyrus, why did you join the industry?
So besides the fact that we all like using the plant and thinking that working for a dispensary would be like the coolest job ever, I was also looking, like Holly said, looking for a new opportunity. I seen it pop up. I applied, and then I was able to have a conversation with Carl and then Jen. And as I said earlier, from speaking with Jen and learning the science behind the plant and seeing, okay, this is really something that we don't just give people to say, hey, go enjoy yourself and enjoy it recreationally, but we want to give it to them so that they know, you know, what they're trying to do, how they're trying to feel. So once I seen and once she educated me on different things about that, it even made me want to be in the industry a little bit more, because I'm like, we're actually helping people, like giving them better, like as Holly said, better quality of life versus just giving them something and saying, here, come back in a couple weeks and maybe you'll be better, maybe you're not. So I kind of love that part of the job. Like we're actually getting people better, and that's what we're striving to do. So.
Thanks, Cyrus. So, I mean, as we continue asking questions, you're going to see a common theme here, right? And it's helping people and being a good person, right? So I had 1,250 applicants for my first store in West Hartford. I hired 15. So that is a crazy number of people that wanted to be in the industry. I didn't care if you had cannabis experience. I didn't care what experience you had, but as long as you were a good person and wanted to help people, which all these 4 are, and every single employee that we have are, you're going to be great in the cannabis industry, right? You're going to want to learn. You're going to want to learn more to help people more and serve them more, right? So that's really the common theme that you'll see here today as they answer questions. And that's not because I told them to answer that way, but that's really because of why we all joined this facility. And I joined the same reasons as them. I oversaw 3 medical facilities. The second week on the job, a cancer patient told me that they had hope for the first time in 18 years when they started using cannabis, right? And those types of things are what we still hear today, even in the recreational or adult use market within Connecticut. So that's definitely going to be an overlying theme here as we answer questions. But being a good person, building this industry that the way that we want it to be built is going to allow the medical patients and the recreational patients, customers, to ultimately come together. So I'm going to go over to Jen and ask her a little bit of different question as to what advice would you offer, being a longer tenured employee in the medical market and now adult use market? Would you offer somebody like Cyrus, who's just starting, to join, and why they would want to join the cannabis industry?
Thanks, Carl. Good question. So anyone, we've interviewed, like Carl had said, there's been hundreds of applicants that come in, and understanding somebody's reason for wanting to get into the cannabis industry and then deciding if employment, if their reasoning is aligned with, our philosophy here and what we stand for. I would say having that same passion for your community and for the people around you. Most employees that we have, and a lot of people that I talk to, have a friend or family member that they share an experience where they've seen them in a debilitated state. They use cannabis and then they see the success after that. And that's enough for someone to say, I want to work in the cannabis industry. We see that a lot. And I feel like sometimes, because cannabis is, it can be a little skeptical still, people have to see that to believe it, right? So that's kind of where we are here. We're changing minds, we're educating people. So for someone looking for a job and having a passion similar to what we represent is definitely needed. And the advice I would give them would be to educate themselves with cannabis and really understand what the plant means for them and how it does help people, because it will translate in their work.
Thanks, Jen. So I'm going to go over to Hannah now. She's been on an elevated path for the last 5 years, from somebody that I've managed to a patient care specialist, all the way up to soon to be manager in my next facility, right, in Tolland. So she is somebody that obviously is well respected within the industry, but we also, I wanted to pass it to her and ask her, now that she's going to be a manager, what's next? Where do you see yourself in the next few years in cannabis?
You got to give me the hard one. Well, first of all, I would like to see the Tolland store be super successful. That would be my first goal. Next goal, gosh, sky's the limit, I guess, right? I would say just obviously staying in the industry and bringing butter to the next level, maybe nationwide, once federal becomes, becomes federally legal. That would be really cool. Butter nation. Trademark it right now. But yeah, I mean, it's been, as I always say, it's been a wild ride, literally. And it's a forever growing industry, and that's kind of why I wanted to be involved in it. And it's, I started out on the ground floor, and it's just been working up and up and up and up. I'm a yes person, so you ask me to do something, I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to make sure that it's done to the best of its ability. So I would say just, like I said, bringing butter to the next level is my goal.
I appreciate that, Hannah. So now I'm going to switch it back over to Cyrus and ask him the same question. Now that he started only 3 months into the industry, where do you see yourself obviously being in the next, call it, year to 2 years?
Well, obviously, I would say I would continue to learn as much as I possibly can in the industry, since I am such a newbie, before I would ask Carl to, give me that drastic jump. But I see myself as far as I can go. I mean, I don't plan on exiting the industry anytime soon. I also like being a part of such a new industry in our state. I mean, the recreational program has only been here for less than 2 years now. So just being a part of such a new program in the state and seeing which way it is going to grow, that's something that I want to kind of stick around for. So I'll be here a while, Carl.
Thanks, Cyrus. Now I'm going to go back to Holly. I asked this question to Jen, but with somebody that has been with multiple companies already, and now the manager of an independent adult use retailer, what advice would you give to somebody joining the industry?
I think the biggest piece of advice you can give somebody is just kind of to immerse yourself into the industry, meaning what you don't know, find a way to learn it, whether that's asking people around you who have more experience or more time in the industry. My staff, with the exception of Hannah, and one other person who worked in the Massachusetts market, none of them came with any previous industry experience at all. They are fantastic about educating themselves and talking to each other, learning from the cultivators that have come in. So I think the biggest piece is if your heart's really in it and this is something that you want to grow into and stay with, that you've got to take all the time you can to educate yourself about the plant, how it works, the science behind it. Learn the inventory, learn the growers that you have, the products you have, ask a lot of questions, and look for those answers. And that way that you can give that customer or that patient, depending on what facility you're in, a better experience, a better shopping experience, a better experience with the products, so they continue to come back and ask for that help too. You want to just, anytime we get a new product, take time with it. So I think it's really just asking a lot of questions, and just really pursuing it. If it's something you really want, this market's a huge market right now. So you can definitely get it. You just have to be really dedicated to it.
I appreciate that, Holly. And that's a good segue into product itself. Always asking questions. I'm not a product expert. I smoke by trade and do it to help me sleep at night with my 2 little rascals at home, 2.5 and 1 year old. So it's chaotic, right? But the reality of the situation is you need to ask questions. You need to stay up on the new products. You need to be able to identify what differentiates products and how to help customers. So I'm just going to pass it to the whole panel and pretty much ask them what their favorite products are on the market right now, and why. So I'm going to turn it over to Hannah first, and then we'll go over.
Okay, this one I can answer pretty easily. I'm a huge fan of any of the live rosin vapes. I personally am a live rosin snob. I just feel like when you have a solventless extract for any cannabis product, you're getting all the goodness of the plant, whereas everything else that's usually like a normal vape is a distillate. It's just a THC extraction, and they usually have to add the terpenes back in. So I just feel like when I get a live rosin, it's just cleaner. Medical wise, it's exactly what I'm looking for. I like the taste, and I really like the effect of it, and it's a little less harsh than flower. I love me a pre-roll once in a while, but I'm a big vape fan. So I would say live rosins, definitely.
Awesome. Thanks, Hannah. So let's go over to Jen and ask her what her favorite product is and why.
So I'm a flower girl, flower and pre-rolls. I don't roll. I've been using cannabis for probably over 20 years, and it's just not anything I ever picked up. I've always had a friend or someone that just worked with that best. I don't mind breaking it up. Needless to say, indica is a strain of choice, or lineage anyway. I like to feel relaxed. I'm not a huge fan of that psychoactive effect when you walk into a room and then you forget what you went in that room for. And now I go in the other room and I'm like, why am I here? I don't like feeling like that. That's the effect I get from sativa personally. So flower vapes, there's a lot of good vapes on the market right now. Hannah said a little bit about distillates and terpenes, things like that. I'm not too fussy with them. I usually only use my product at night anyway. Cannabis overall makes me tired. So anytime during the day, if I'm getting anything done, I really shouldn't use products. So I have to be discretionary there too. However, yeah, indica flower is pretty much my jam.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen. So switching over to the customer aspect of it, right? Because we're only retail, we win on retail and our customer experience. I have three veterans, one new industry person here, but how we act to our customer is going to be key in how we educate them. So I'm going to just go down the line and ask them to elaborate on kind of what are the normal questions that a new customer or an experienced customer would ask from the retail standpoint, just to give a little of that customer flavor. So, Holly, what is the number one question that a customer asks you?
Okay, I'll go from the new customer angle here. I think most of the time when a new customer comes in, we have to first identify which product. I think right now, just in this last year, the edible market's been where most of our questions have, on the adult use end, have really been born out of, especially in our facility where we're at in Hartford. So most people come in, how many milligrams, how much should I take? I think those are the big questions. Well, and then kind of trying to figure out, well, how do you want to feel? Are you trying to treat something versus do you just want to feel a certain way? You don't care. So once we establish that, I think it's just the dosing is probably the bigger question that we get, how much is each piece? Are you comfortable with 5 milligrams? Do you want less than that, more than that? Those questions I think are the ones we get most frequently, at least on my end.
Perfect. Hannah?
For a newbie, if it's not in an edible standpoint, it's usually flower. I'm just, I'm looking just to smoke something at night, something after a fun evening with your date, something like that. So usually in that standpoint, I usually ask, where's your tolerance at? Are you currently using? If I hear yes, sometimes I'll make a recommendation of something a little bit on a higher THC level. If they say, no, I haven't smoked in 20 years and I just retired and, I don't care. I'll usually recommend something lower THC. That way it's nothing crazy for them. But low and slow is usually what I tell most people. So take a little puff, give yourself about 5 minutes, see how you feel. If you like it, ride the wave. If not, take another puff, go from there. So yeah, low and slow, again, with all edibles in, flower form.
Great. Jen, you're on the floor more. Cyrus is in the back, so he's not as customer interfacing. So I'm going to pass him on this one. But Jen, kind of like you've seen it over 7-8 years now that you've been in the industry. From the medical aspect, what's the number one question you used to see? And then from the recreational aspect, is that the same or not?
So in the medical market, a lot of times we would get people, customers, patients coming in at a point of desperation, really, where they feel so many things and it's so overwhelming that they're not sure what to do. So you kind of have to pick that apart and figure out what we're addressing first. Maybe if we get our sleep under control, will our pain minimize, things like that. So on the medical end, kind of picking through that and addressing one thing at a time. We've seen a lot of success. And then even a medical patient would come in and just want the strongest thing possible because everyone thinks that the strongest thing is going to be the best thing. So there's a learning curve there too, where we would educate patients, and we still do customers now because I get that question all the time. I just want the strongest one. So even asking patients now, it's the same concept, how do you feel now and how do you want to feel after you use your product? So that's what we work really hard with the staff to help them understand what the products, what they're good for, right? What indica sativa hybrid, things like that. So we can actually provide a product for somebody and address what they're looking for. So if it's not the strongest you're looking for, or you are looking for the strongest, you might not necessarily be leaving with the strongest medicine or product, but it will probably be the right type of product for you in choosing your delivery method. So not everyone is enthusiastic about edibles. However, they're booming right now in Connecticut. You have some just regular, flower smokers, and they're learning a lot too, because we get a lot, I've been smoking 50 years. I know everything about cannabis. And, lo and behold, they're leaving with new products and a new understanding of cannabis. So, yeah, it's an array of questions all of the time, and we really have to kind of narrow it down and help people figure out what might be best for them.
Thanks, Jen. So you did speak about challenges there. I think it's a pretty well-known thing that our biggest challenge in the Connecticut market now is the lack of supply and the lack of variety of products, not only for the medical user, but for the adult use user, right? So being able to get the supply where it needs to be to meet the demand of those customers is going to be key from a market perspective, so that we keep our Connecticut customers inside the state and not allow them to go to the neighboring markets to really choose either the brands or products that they really need to deal with the issues that they're going through. With that being said, we will be, Butter Cannabis will be building a micro cultivation facility in the next, call it 14 to 15 months. We're hopeful that we can control some of these issues around supply, but more specifically, be able to have boots on the ground to listen to our customers, right? To understand what is needed in the market, to control that whole supply chain and distribution, to allow and ensure that the products that are needed in the market will get to the people that need them, and really listen, right? Right now, we only have 5 growers. Unfortunately, the recreational market is a higher demand than the medical market right now, and the way that it's structured, we've kind of disincentivized the existing cultivators to build products for the medical patients. We don't want to lose sight of that as a micro cultivation. We want to ensure that we're listening to customers, even though 5 of our 6 stores will be recreational. There is a lot of overlap. So we need to ensure that we're doing right by the consumer to help build the market in the right way. So with that being said, I'm just going to ask one last question to everybody, and then we'll open it up to you guys. If you guys have any questions for us, that's great. So with that being said, that is my biggest challenge in the industry, trying to get supply to the hands of customers, and the right supply, that is. So I'm going to go with Cyrus because I skipped him on the last question. He's a newbie, so he might not see the exact same problems that we've seen, but what's the biggest problem you've seen starting 4 months in the industry so far?
I mean, it'd have to almost be the shortage. As Carl said, I normally work in the back as an inventory specialist, so I'm dealing with the product as it comes in the door, stocking it on the shelves, and then giving it out to the customers. So when we have empty shelves, I'm coming into work and there's no product to sell, then obviously that's alarming. So I'd say in the short 4 months that I've been at Butter, the shortage of the product has definitely been like the biggest issue I've seen myself. And that's just because people are coming in wanting to feel better, and we just don't have the stuff available to give to them. So that's what I would say. Yeah, because it's not available to us. Yeah.
Thanks, Cyrus. Hannah, so not shortage. What is the biggest problem that you faced over the last 12 months in the industry?
I would honestly say lack of variety. So coming from the medical standpoint, especially with edibles, there used to be honeys and brownies and cookies and you name it. We had it, crackers. It was great. And now all we see is gummies and chocolate. And it's just funny to me because for the longest time, Connecticut told us medical facilities and patients, no chocolate or gummies because it's too enticing to kids. And now that's all we have. And it's great. And, that's a great option if that's what you want. But, the fact that we had all these other options available for patients and, like I said, myself included, and they're no longer there. So I would like to see that change in the market. I would like to see, those products kind of brought back, or just more variety of it. Same with, flour. I feel like there used to be a lot more kind of different strains. Things kind of just have been cycling through. Again, some strains I love, some of them I kind of wish would go away, but that's okay. But yeah, I would like to see a better variety of, different products than what we see.
Great, thanks, Hannah. So obviously those two, supply shortage and lack of variety, really stems from the lack of cultivators within the state, right? Right now, the supply is just not meeting the demand. And with another, call it 10 to 15 dispensaries and/or recreational facilities opening by the end of the year, with maybe one, maybe two smaller cultivators opening by the end of the year, we're only going to see that problem deep into 2024 until we see bigger cultivators come on board and/or partnerships that may be formed through legislative changes. That problem is still going to exist, and it's hard for us to manage from a retail standpoint with somebody that's not growing right now to really make the customer happy and do right by that customer, right? We can't service them the right way that we know how to because that product's not on the market. We're hopeful to be a part of that solution when we do either create a micro cultivation or partner with a cultivation facility to do a white labeling agreement with a butter brand, right? But ultimately, we will need more licenses to get up and running in order to supply the market the way that it's supposed to. And it's doing a disservice to the Connecticut consumer because now they have to drive either 45 minutes, an hour across the border to pick up what they may need to service what they're going through, right? So we really need to get that under control in order to make this the right market that it can be. So now I'm going to go back to the question at heart, Holly. The biggest challenge, not lack of supply and not lack of variety.
You have to think about it because that's really, those two are huge. Biggest challenges. is marketing. I mean, we can't market well. That's the truth. In Connecticut, where the regulations on marketing are very stiff, with target audiences, they have a lot. So you can't advertise where there's children and things like that. But it's so rigid that you can't really do it at all. So getting our brand out there, or anybody's brand out there, is not easy, to say the least. And there's been some word that it could become even more difficult. So I think that Connecticut does a disservice to themselves, especially with their neighbor to the north. Before you even cross over into Massachusetts, across state lines, you can just see all of the beautiful advertising that's occurring, whether that's cultivation or retail storefront, that we don't have existing in Connecticut. So it's impossible to let people driving along the 95, 84, 91 corridors to know that we even exist if we can't let them know we're there. I can speak for myself with being open since late July, that we still have people that are coming through our doors that I have no idea that you're even open. We have frosted glass you can't see in any part of our building. Certain zoning, certain towns don't allow for you to even put an open flag out, an open sign up. So it's really difficult to let consumers know that you're out there. And then even in the running of promos and sales, that can get a little tough for everybody too. So I think it's a push for Connecticut, of course, to kind of lessen the restriction a little bit, so that we can kind of let our population know that we're out there and they can come by and visit.
That's a great point. Overregulation. Obviously, Connecticut is one of the earlier markets, medical markets, in 2014. So we definitely understand why it was so heavily regulated at the beginning. It's so capital intrusive to actually build a facility, right? You're looking at things from a vault that costs $100,000 to security systems and second security systems now that cost $100,000. So they want people to join the industry, but they are overregulating an industry, and they being the consumer protection in the right way, right? I mean, we work in hand with them to try and open the market up so that consumers know about us, and make them okay with us marketing in certain aspects. I'll just tell you a little story around how we opened West Hartford and what we got our hand slapped for. We had a digital billboard on a private truck that basically just said, "Butter Cannabis, now open 1037 Boulevard." They drove around West Hartford for 5 hours, and we were told we were not allowed to do that because we couldn't prove that kids wouldn't see it, right? So that type of overregulation, just trying to do simple marketing techniques to allow consumers to know that we're open, to stay within the state, is really something that we want to work with the government agencies on to open it up so that we're competitive with our neighboring states, right? So that we can work with them to mature this in the right way. So that's definitely a key issue at hand that will hopefully change in the next year or two to allow us to open up into more of a free market. So lastly, Jen, marketing, lack of supply, and lack of variety are the big three. There's a drop off after that, but I'm going to pass it to Jen to see if she has anything else to add.
So I actually do. So from a business perspective and from a consumer perspective, I think on the business end, it's really difficult with the softwares that we're allowed to use and not allowed to use, our point of sale systems and integration when it comes to what that looks like and how we retail the product. It's not easy for us. We do a lot of back end management, a lot of manual management, from inventory to even manually managing the point of sale systems, things like that. It can make it difficult for sure. And that's government regulated, that we're not able to, there's a lot of handcuffs there as well. So to see something like that loosen up, so, our process operationally can be a little more streamlined, it provide a better customer experience all in all, and be great on the staff. So that's the business end. And then from a consumer end, recreationally, we're still using a lot of the medical names for the product. So strain names, using a street name versus a medical name. It was supposed to be loosened up, if I'm not mistaken, but we haven't really gotten too far from that, or not every grower has. So we spend a lot of time interpreting what the seed was, what it was, what it was grown as, and then it gets renamed by the producer, and then translating that to the customer. So it's like learning a different language, really. If we can just call sour diesel, that would be great, And we are, but not everyone is doing it. We still get a lot of hybridols, indicols, and, Sadivarian language like that. So kind of decoding what that is and getting a customer to understand, what they're interpreting also and what they're using for their product is a challenge for us. It's just a lot to retain, really.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen. So I know that we're running out of time here, but I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank these four. I am an entrepreneur at heart. We started this business 2 years ago. We have 2 locations open, third coming in April/May, with 3 new ones coming at the end of the year. But listen, I wouldn't be here without their hard work, right? I mean, so it really, I really just want to congratulate them to this point. I know that butter is going to get bigger and hopefully better. So we're confident with that. So thank you guys for speaking here. Thank you guys for doing everything that you can to make us who we are. And I'll just open it up to questions if anybody has any. And if not, if you want to speak after, we're at booth 303. The butter popcorn machine and the cash machine. So come hang out and have fun with us. And we have some giveaways for you. Any questions? Perfect.
If you could wave a magic wand either on behalf of your customers or for yourself, what product would you have?
I know.
Go ahead, Jen.
Concentrates.
Yeah.
We need concentrates in the rec market. And the thing is, we can have them, but nobody's producing them because the percentage in which that it's been, dictated and been set by the state, the DCP, is said to be too low, that it's really not cost effective for the producers to make a concentrated product, right? That's only 50% THC. However, we would sell the heck out of them because it's really needed. Yeah, it really is.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. Any others? Yep.
Are there any barriers to shipping supply out of state?
Yeah, so all of the THC supply has to come from the 5 existing cultivators within the state. So we can't sell anything within the store that is coming from out of state. There is a small caveat to that: manufactured hemp products, which is under a lot of investigation right now on what's going to happen within Connecticut. We can source those from distributors within the state that are supposed to be grown within the state and things like that, but ultimately they might come from out of state. So there is a little gray area there that's the state's working through, and not a lot of dispensaries and or retailers are selling manufactured hemp products right now. It's mostly on the beverage side, just because there's no food and beverage maker up in the state yet to provide us those THC drinks. So yes, we have to source everything, 99.9% of our product from within the state. All right. Thank you guys, everybody, for coming and listening to us. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.